Once upon a time, in the peaceful land of Sham, there lived a kind and wise king. His people loved him because he always cared for them. The king had a special love for flowers and plants. In his palace, he had a big and beautiful royal garden that he visited every day after the Maghrib prayer. One evening, after visiting his garden and praying Isha, the king went to bed. That night, he had a strange and magical dream. In the dream, he saw 4 beautiful fairies flying down from the sky. One fairy spread her hands, and a golden stem grew from the ground. The second fairy spread her hands, and silver branches grew from the golden stem. Then, the third fairy lifted her hands, and sparkling diamond leaves appeared on the branches. The king stared at the glowing tree in wonder. Suddenly, the fourth fairy turned into a shiny red apple, and a strange creature appeared. It climbed onto the magical tree and started eating the apple. Just then, the king woke up, surprised and confused by what he had seen. The dream stayed in his mind. He wished to have a tree like that in his own garden. The next morning, he went to visit an old wise man in the palace who could explain dreams. After hearing the dream, the wise man said, "Your Majesty, the fairies in your dream are real. They live on Mount Kaf, but they are being held by a cruel demon. They need your help." The king took this seriously. He called his soldiers and made an announcement. Whoever rescues the fairies from the demon will receive a great reward. Many brave people tried, hoping to win riches, but no one returned with success. Then, the king's loyal minister came forward and asked for permission to go on the journey. The king agreed and gave him his blessings. The minister began his adventure and entered a thick forest. There, he saw a man lying on the ground, badly hurt. The minister helped the man and treated his wounds. The man thanked him and asked where he was going. After hearing the minister's mission, he said, "Be careful, the demon is dangerous, but I will teach you a secret chant. With it, you'll understand the language of animals." He taught the chant and then disappeared into the woods. As the minister walked on, he saw 2 fish flapping outside a pond. One fish cried, "Help us, human, we are dying." The other fish said, "He won't understand us." But the minister did. He quickly picked them up and put them back in the water. The fish were thankful and blessed him. Further ahead, he heard tiny voices. It was the queen of the ants, warning her colony that a human was coming. The minister smiled, stepped aside, and let the ants pass safely. Later, the minister saw a dwarf stuck in a bush. He helped the little man out. The dwarf was very grateful and said, "Take this magic cloak. It will make you invisible. It may help you fight the demon." The minister thanked him and continued toward Mount Kaf. Finally, he reached the mountain. Minister reached the mountain. In front of him stood a large, shining palace, guarded by strange creatures. He wore the magic cloak and quietly slipped past them. But soon, the palace was full of noise. Someone had noticed his presence. The tall and fearsome demon appeared, full of anger. The minister took off the cloak and calmly said, "I mean no harm. I only want the fairies to be free. I will do anything you ask." The demon smiled wickedly and said, "If you complete 2 tasks for me, I will release them." The minister agreed. The demon took off a beautiful ring and threw it into a large river. "Bring this ring back before morning," he ordered. The minister was worried, but then he remembered the fish. He called them and explained what happened. The fish dove into the river and returned with the ring before dawn. The demon was surprised, but not ready to give up. He poured 3 sacks of millet on the ground and said, "By noon tomorrow, put all this millet back into the sacks." This seemed impossible, but soon the ants arrived, led by their queen. Together, they picked up the millet grain by grain and filled all the sacks before noon. Now the minister stood before the demon and said, "Both tasks are done. Now keep your promise." But the demon laughed loudly. "Foolish human," he shouted. "I never planned to let them go." The minister became angry. He quickly put on the invisible cloak, jumped forward, and stabbed the demon in the chest with his dagger. The demon let out a loud scream and fell to the ground, dead. The minister rushed into the palace dungeon and found the fairies. He broke their chains, and they smiled in joy. Using their powers, they lifted the minister into the sky and flew him back to the king. The king was overjoyed to see them. The fairies thanked him for sending help and, as a gift, created the magical tree from the king's dream right in his royal garden. The king kept his word and gave a large part of his estate to the brave minister. The fairies then returned happily to their home in the mystical land of Mount Kaf. And from that day on, the magical tree stood tall in the king's garden, a symbol of courage, kindness, and the power of dreams. If you like the video, then please subscribe the channel and press bell icon